Before we step into today's story, pause for just 1 second. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave a like. Because stories like this, they're not easy to tell. They take something out of you. They ask you to revisit moments you once tried to forget. And the only reason I keep sharing them is because you're here listening. Now, take a slow breath. Because what you're about to hear is not just a story. It's a moment that changed everything. Quietly, permanently, and without warning. Some moments don't arrive with noise. No dramatic music. No warning signs. No sense that your life is about to shift. They slip in gently, like a breeze through a half-open window. And by the time you realize what's happened, it's already too late. That day was one of those moments. I remember it with a kind of clarity that almost feels unnatural. Like it wasn't just stored in memory, but carved into something deeper. Not because it began with chaos, but because it didn't. It started like any other morning I had lived through dozens, no hundreds, of times before. Quiet. Predictable. Still. The kind of morning where nothing feels urgent. And yet somehow everything feels paused. Soft sunlight filtered through the curtains, stretching slowly across the wooden floor in thin golden lines. Dust particles floated lazily in the air, visible only because the light chose to reveal them. The house was silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence, but the kind that lingers too long. The only sound was the steady ticking of the clock on the wall. Tick, tick, tick. Each second felt louder than it should have, as if it was reminding me, time is moving. Whether you feel it or not. I woke up at the same time I always did. Habits become part of you after enough years. They settle into your bones. I stretched slowly, feeling that familiar resistance in my joints. Not pain exactly, just awareness. The kind that reminds you, you're not young anymore. But you're not done either. I was 61 years old. And no matter how confidently people try to say, age is just a number, it isn't. It carries weight, history, regret, memories. Silence that I had spent years refusing to let that number define me. I exercised regularly. I ate carefully. I paid attention to my body, my health, my skin. I stayed active, busy, structured. Because structure gives you something to hold on to when everything else feels uncertain. Every morning, I stood in front of the mirror. Not out of vanity, but out of habit. And I would look myself directly in the eyes and silently say, you're still here. You're still living. Keep going. And yet, despite all of that effort, there was something I couldn't outrun. An emptiness. It didn't scream. It didn't demand attention. It didn't break things or disrupt my life. It simply existed. Quietly. Like a room in a house that used to be full of laughter, but now sits untouched. There was a time I believed I could fill it. I tried routines. I tried hobbies. I tried organizing my days so tightly there wouldn't be space left to feel anything at all. I convinced myself that independence was enough. And for a while, it worked. Or at least, I told myself it did. But emptiness is patient. It doesn't fight you. It waits. And no matter how carefully you build your life around it, it eventually reminds you, I'm still here. Strangely, there were only a few moments when that emptiness seemed to loosen its grip. Moments when something inside me shifted. Barely, but enough to notice. And those moments almost always involved him. Jack. Jack was the delivery driver assigned to our neighborhood. He had only started coming around a few months earlier. But somehow, it felt like he carried something different. He was young, maybe 22, full of energy that hadn't yet learned hesitation. There was no heaviness in him. No guarded expressions. No invisible walls. Just presence. He smiled easily, spoke casually, moved like the world hadn't taught him to be careful yet. And somehow, that unsettled me more than anything. Not because he crossed any lines. Not because he said anything inappropriate. He didn't. But because, without trying, he reminded me of something I had forgotten how to feel. And slowly, without admitting it to anyone, not even myself, I started finding reasons to order things. Small things. Unnecessary things. A book I didn't plan to read. A candle I didn't intend to light. Kitchen tools I already owned. Each purchase had the same unspoken purpose. A knock on the door. And every time the doorbell rang, my heart reacted before my mind could. A quick beat. A small shift. A feeling I couldn't quite name. I told myself it was harmless. Just curiosity. Just routine. Just human nature. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. Still, I never allowed the thought to go further. Because some lines, once crossed in your mind, can't be uncrossed. So I stayed composed. Distant. Careful. Until that morning. That morning felt no different. At first, I stepped outside with a cup of coffee in my hand. The air was cool. Gentle against my skin. The street was quiet. Still wrapped in that early morning calm. Before the world fully wakes up. And then, I saw him. Jack. Riding his motorcycle down the street. Like he always did. Relaxed. Balanced. Effortless. As if the road belonged to him that I lifted my hand to wave. Just a small gesture. Familiar. Routine. But I never got the chance that I in a single second. Everything changed. The motorcycle lost balance. The tires screeched against the pavement. A sharp, violent sound that shattered the silence. My breath caught instantly. The bike slid sideways. And before my mind could process it, he hit the ground. Hard. Right in front of my house. Time stopped. The coffee nearly slipped from my hands. As panic rushed through my body. Jack. I didn't even remember dropping the cup. I was already running that he was trying to sit up when I reached him. His face tightened with pain. Shock flickering through his eyes. His knee was scraped raw. Blood along his elbow. The motorcycle lay beside him, twisted at an angle. And yet, he smiled. I'm fine, he said quickly. Too quickly. His voice unsteady. Really, it's nothing. No. The word came out sharper than I expected. Don't tell me you're fine. Fear had already taken over. You're hurt. You're coming inside. He hesitated. Like he wanted to brush it off. Like he didn't want to cause trouble. But I wasn't asking that we move the motorcycle aside. And when I slipped my arm under his to support him, I felt it. Not just tension. Something else. Surprise. From both of us that we walked slowly toward the house. Each step heavier than it should have been. Not because of his injury, but because something had shifted. And neither of us had named it yet that I guided him to the couch. Quickly grabbed the first aid kit. My heart was still racing. But not just from fear. There was something else. Something unfamiliar that I knelt in front of him. Carefully cleaning the wounds. They weren't serious. But they needed attention. My hands trembled slightly. And I hated that he noticed. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I didn't mean to cause trouble. I looked up at him. Met his eyes. You didn't, I said softly. And you're not. The room felt different. Still. Close. Like the outside world had disappeared. As I wrapped the bandage around his arm, our hands brushed. Just for a second. But that second felt longer. Warmer. Real. And neither of us pulled away immediately. Judith. He said my name carefully. Like he wasn't sure he should. My heart pounded. Louder than before. I haven't felt this alive in a very long time. The words slipped out before I could stop them. And the moment they did, everything changed. Before we go further, take a moment. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and leave a comment below. Because what happens next is where everything truly begins.